Okay, welcome everybody. It's 10:01 a.m. in the morning of the 14th of October. My name is Jim Cerny, and I'm Vice President of STUG, the Sarasota Technical Users Group in Sarasota, Florida. And this is our class on basic Windows. And today in basic Windows, we're going to be talking about the very important Windows File Explorer app. File Explorer. It comes with all editions of Windows. And we're going to go over as much as we can today. And if we can't finish, we'll do it the rest at our next session, which will be, looking it up, that would be October 28th. Just a couple days before Halloween trick-or-treat. You don't have to come in costume, just show up. And we'll have that second session, our next session on the 28th, and I'll send out a reminder to everybody. Again, the desktop, you remember, has the icons on it for the apps that you use most often. The taskbar has the search on it and the Windows button. And shortcuts to some of the apps, you can move down to the taskbar at the bottom. And in the bottom right is the notification area. So I thought we covered those pretty well last couple of weeks of classes, last two classes. So we'll get started now then on Windows File Explorer. Now, it's not an explorer that explores the internet. It's not an internet explorer. It's a file explorer that is used to explore and find and manipulate files on your computer. And if File Explorer can be linked to other files that are not on your computer, that are in the cloud, in some other applications, that may be possible, but we're not going to cover that in this class. And when I open up File Explorer in a minute, you'll see the screen for File Explorer. And File Explorer comes with all editions of Windows. No matter how old you have Windows edition that you use, File Explorer is there and it works well. I have a lot of issues sometimes with Microsoft, but I have to say and admit that File Explorer is one of their more brilliant ideas. It is easy to use, it is flexible, and it gives you all kinds of power to manipulate and use and find and open anything with files on your computer. Now, one thing File Explorer does not do, it does not create a new file from scratch. If you open up Word and you create a new Word document and you save it as a file, then you can access that file through File Explorer. But Word is the app that is used to create the file in the first place. If you open up the Paint program and you create a painting and you save it as a file, you use Paint to create the file in the first place. And that file can now be accessed and manipulated using File Explorer. But File Explorer does not create new files from scratch. What you can do with File Explorer is you can make copies of files, okay? And we'll get into that. But you cannot create a new file using File Explorer. It's the app or applications that you use that create files. Okay, I'm going to change my screen here to share my screen so that I can show you File Explorer. Let me see if I can do that. My instructions are go to Host Tools. Host Tools and share screen. Let's see if it works. Then you don't have to look at my ugly face.
Oh, well,
Yes.
did anything come out on your computer?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey, was there a question? I'm sorry. Can you see my screen?
We see your face.
Oh, good. My whole face?
Yes.
Not,
All right,
not,
let's
not, your-
see.
not,
Can
not
you,
screen
can you see
sharing
my
yet.
screen now?
Not yet.
Really? Oh, okay. I thought I clicked on the right one here. Let's
I
see.
don't understand this computer. Like,
Host tools,
I switch it and then it tells me some crap here. And then
share
it comes out
screen.
on yours.
Okay, well, anyway, here it is.
Thank you.
I'm getting ready to go to the post office and run by Karen's to see if I can find my tools. I should be back this way 12:30-ish maybe.
Okay.
Okay, it doesn't appear that my share screen is working. I've done it twice.
Jim,
Yeah,
instead of going into host tools, just click on the green, do you have on the bottom row, do you have just a simple green share button?
yes, I do.
Use that one.
All right, I've tried that in the past and somebody told me I should do host tools. So, okay, I'll try the share button down here. Entire screen, yes, share, here we go. Looks like that's a good one.
Yep.
Yep.
Success.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Drew. We would have had a very short class if you didn't help me with that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I can also use share at the bottom of the screen. I'll make a note of that. Okay, now let's get started. Windows File Explorer has an icon that looks like a folder. And I have that icon on my desktop here, and I also have it on my taskbar down here. If you open up File Explorer from your desktop, you have to click your mouse on it twice. If you open up File Explorer from your taskbar, you need only left-click the mouse once. And I will now open up File Explorer. And let me make it just a little bit shorter left to right there so I can fit the whole window on my screen and still see your faces on the right side of my screen. So this is File Explorer. Now, I hope you take notes because if there's anything I say that you don't recognize or doesn't pop out at you as something that you've done before, I really recommend you to make a note about it. And you can always go to Google and say, how do I rename a file on File Explorer or using File Explorer? If you put the words File Explorer in your search, you will get videos and help specifically with File Explorer and not with any other apps that may or may not do the same thing, okay? But everything we're doing today is on File Explorer, so if you need help without calling me, you can call me after you try help, but if you need help, do a search on whatever it is you want and put in the phrase Windows File Explorer, and it will help you. And it'd be a good review for you as well. So let's take a look at this window. This is the File Explorer window. I'll make it just a tad larger. And you see that the window is basically divided into three areas. The top bars across the top of the window are the menu bars. And they affect the whole thing in the window. What you do, your options, your menu choices. And right here, this bar that has home in it, this is going to be the path name. If you open up a folder, the folder you are in will be the last folder name in the path. Okay. That begs the question, can you have two files with the same name? And if you say no, you are correct. And if you say yes, you are correct. You can't have two files with the same name in the same folder because the path of the folders getting to that file, the computer sees that path as part of the file name. So yes, every file name is unique, and no, you can't have two files with the same name in the same folder. Now, if you copy a folder to another drive, like a jump drive or an external drive, the folder can have the same name and all the files in it can have the same name because you're on a different drive. And the drive designation, like letter D or E or F, is part of the path name. So those files are unique as far as the computer is concerned because the path name is unique.
I got sense.
Was there a question? Okay. The other areas of the screen window for File Explorer, the left area that I'm pointing to now is the area or pane of the window that shows only the folders. There are never any file names in this pane. They are only folders. And the main part of this window over here shows the contents of a folder. So let's try that. If I left click on Documents, then I get the contents over here of the folder called Documents. And in that folder, I have more folders. I have the class teaching folder. And if I click on it once, I highlight it. But if I click on it twice, I open that folder. And now you can see the path name up here. I'm in my Documents or Documents folder. And in that folder, I am in the class teaching folder. And in that folder, I have 3 folders and files. The folders come up on top, okay, alphabetically. Okay, if I open up a folder here, test folder for fun, double click, bloop, bloop. I see there are no more folders in this folder. Where am I? I'm in Documents, and in the Documents folder, I'm in the class teaching folder. And in that folder, I am in the test folder for fun folder. And these are the files that are in that folder. Folders are places. Folders are locations. Folders are not files. You put files into folders. You could put folders into other folders and files into other folders. But folders help you organize and keep your place where you're at. Now let's go to the left part of the screen here. You see that there's home and gallery and so forth. And here there's a bunch of folders that have a pin next to them, a tag. That means these have been pinned to show up in my folder list on the left, right at the top. Okay.
Jim,
Yeah.
my screen doesn't look like yours.
Yes.
How do
It'll
I-
look to,
How do I set it up like yours?
okay, we'll cover that in a minute. Just hang in there.
Okay.
Okay. If I scroll down with the scroll bar, after the pin folders, by the way, are folders that I have done most recently. But if I scroll down, I can see I can get to the whole disk, the whole C drive. And down here, I have my folders in which you should be putting your stuff. You should be putting your documents in Documents, music, pictures, videos, network. So if I click on Documents here, I get the same list of contents of my Documents folder as if I clicked on Documents up here. It's the same thing. I'm in the same location. This happens to be pinned, and this is down here in the list after the bar. Previous editions of Microsoft File Explorer may not have exactly the pins up there, and the most recent folders you visited. There was one person that I worked with years ago, and she would always go to the same work folder all the time. And she expected the folder to be in the most popular folder list, the most recent folder list. And one day she went to too many folders, like 8 or 10 folders. And all of a sudden, her folder that she needed was no longer in the most popular or recently used list. And she couldn't get to the folder. So you have to do a search, and you can do a search up here to find any file or folder by entering the search up here. But notice it says search documents. Why does it say search documents? Because that's where I'm at. I'm in the documents folder. So it's not going to search the whole computer. It's not going to search the whole C drive. It's going to search the documents folder that I'm in. Now, if I wanted to click on the C drive and click and do a search there, I can do it. But you probably will not need to do that because you shouldn't be putting your stuff where you can't find it. The important thing with File Explorer is that you can get to your stuff and you should know where your stuff is. It's a good idea every year to go through all your folders and delete the stuff you don't need anymore, and move folders around and files around to put them in the folders that you want and make sure you're organized. There are people that don't organize anything, and they always do a search to find a file. And they say, oh, I find the file okay. What do I need to know about File Explorer? You know, I don't recommend that. I recommend you do know File Explorer and you know how things are organized. Okay, let's open up Documents again. I'll open it from down here. And I'm going to show you some different ways to view your files and folders. This is what makes this window look different. As Di questioned, she says, well, why does my window look different than yours? Well, there's different ways of looking at it. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm not changing anything. I'm not changing any files. I'm not changing any folders. I'm only changing how things look. You go to View, and on View, you see the Layout and View options. You open that, and you get a bunch of options. Okay? You can view extra large icons. You can view large icons. You can view medium icons. You can view small icons. You can view a list. You can view a detail list, which is my favorite, by the way. Detail list is my favorite, and I'll tell you why in a minute. You can view tiles. You can view content that tells you a little information about the file or folder. You can view or turn off the details pane, which is over here. And I will turn that off again. Oops. Preview pane, you can play with these. Oops, sorry, view. Okay, so I showed you the different various views here. Let's see if I can. Get rid of that. Oh, the detail view here. There we go. Okay. The detail view pane is a different pane in the window. It takes up space, so I don't use it. And I'll tell you why I don't need to use it, and you don't either. Let's go to view my favorite, which is the detail list view. The reason I like this view for all my files and folders except photos. All my files and folders except photos, I use the detail list view, details. And the reason I do that is because all my information is in columns. I have columns of name, date modified, and the type of file it is. These are all folders. They all come with the yellow icon at the beginning. If I scroll down and I get to my files, there's no yellow icon. These are not folders, they're files, and it tells me what file type it is. That's a Word file or a JPEG file. And it tells me how big the file is. I believe you can add other columns to this list, but I have never had a need to do that. If you go to a folder and you right-click the folder, you get a list of options for that folder. The most popular things to do with folders and files are to cut them, delete them, or copy them or rename them. And we'll do that in the future. We'll show you how to do some actions with your files and folders. But for right now, we want to understand the layout and we want to understand what we're looking at before we start playing with things and moving things around. So folders always have an icon that looks like a folder in front of them. And if you put your mouse on a file or a folder, you will see a rectangle that appears to give you information about that file or folder. So that's why I don't need the details pane, because I can go to any file or folder and just move my mouse on it. Don't click, just move your mouse on it. And it tells you, the data was created, the path name, how to get to it, where it is, the size, and other information. Okay. So the basic way of using File Explorer is with a column of folders on the left, you click on a folder, like the STUG folder, and the contents of that folder will appear in the right pane. You will never see a file listed in the left pane. Those are only folders. Okay. Now, you'll notice that STUG folder doesn't have an arrow on the right end over here because this is the most recent list or the most popular list. But if I come down here and I click on documents, and then there's an arrow here that tells me that the folder called documents contains more folders. Well, of course it does. I clicked on it and here are the folders. I can see them. And here are the files. I can see them by using the scroll bar. But because there's an arrow here, that tells me that in the documents folder, there's more folders. If I click on the arrowhead, blue, it lists the next folders that are in it. Now, it lists documents again. I know you're going to ask me, why does it have two documents? And the answer is, I don't understand this completely. But I believe if you have multiple users on your computer, each user can have their own documents. And so there may be more than one documents, but I don't have any other user on my computer, and neither do you probably. So if I click on documents here, I can see that the arrow is now pointing down. And here are the list of the folders that are in documents that are the same list of folders here. But they're listed here because I clicked on the arrow. If I click on the arrow again, the folder list disappears under documents. If I click the arrow again to open the list, the arrow now points to the right. I'm sorry. We have to open this document. There we go. The arrow points to the right and the folders are listed here. If I click on the arrow points down and the folders are listed here. Now this becomes important when you want to move things around. When you want to move a file or a folder into another folder, you can find the file or folder over here and just drag it and drop it in any folder you want over here. Okay, we'll do that in the future. We're not manipulating or using, we're trying to understand what we're looking at first, okay? Now, if I open a folder here, say, I think we have a STUG folder, yeah. If I click on the folder here, it opens the contents of that folder over here. The arrow is still pointing to the right, so it's not listing the folders in STUG folder below. But because I clicked on it and highlighted it, it's listing the folders over here. The contents of the whole STUG folder are listed over here. Folders and files. If I click the arrow, then the folders are listed here. Notice that they're indented slightly from the left margin. So this indicates that this folder, this folder, this folder, this folder, this folder, and this folder, these are all in the STUG folder. But the taxes 2023 folder is not in the STUG folder because it's not indented. Okay, if I click the arrow to compress or remove listing the folders in the left column, you can see that the taxes still remains because the taxes 2023 folder is not in the STUG folder. So if I open up the STUG folder and I open up teaching files, okay, I only have one file in there. But here's what happens, and here's the summary of things. Any folder you click on the left to highlight it, clicking on it to highlight it, the contents of that folder will be displayed in the right pane. And the path to get to that folder will be displayed in the file path line up here, or window, I guess you call it a line, okay? That in the documents folder, there's a STUG folder, and in that folder, there's the teaching files, and that's where I'm at. So I know here I'm in the teaching files folder. I know here I'm in the teaching files folder. If I click on old luncheon games, I see that there are no folders in here, just files. And because of that, there's no arrow next to the folder here. Because an arrow next to a folder in the left pane indicates there are more folders in that folder. Okay, are there any questions about that? It's not hard to grasp. You click on the folder on the left, the contents of the folder appears on the right. Now, the other view I like, there's only two views I like to use. One, the main one, is this one, the detail list. But for photographs, if I'm dealing with photographs on my computer, I use the, medium icons. It doesn't help me much when I'm in files, but if I go to my photos, pictures. If I go to my pictures folder and click, I can see a nice representation of my photos. You can see the folders are still shown as a folder icon, but you can even peek and see what's inside the folder. And if you scroll down, you see the other photos. And you can open up a folder here, and you can open up a folder here. Okay, if I want to open up 221 photos, I just double click it, click. And there are all the photos that are in that folder. Are there any folders in this folder? The answer is no. There's no folders, there are only files. And you can click on a file to select it and highlight it. And you can double click it to open it. Click. And it opens. And click the X to close it. Now, this is a very important point. So get your notepads out. There are two ways to open a file. You can open a file while you are in and using File Explorer. As I just demonstrated, I can go to a photo and double click it and it opens. Well, what app am I using to open the photo? This happens to be the Windows Photo application, Windows Photos. Okay. If I go to a document, let's say I go to Old Lunch and Games folder, and here's some Family Feud questions. Suppose I want to open this file from while I'm in File Explorer. I just double click it, click. Notice that it opens Microsoft Word. Okay. So when you open a file in Windows File Explorer by double clicking it, or I think you can right click it and left click open, same thing. If you open a file in File Explorer, it's going to use the default app to open that file. Now, I'm not going to get into default apps. That's another lesson. But you can list the default apps for different file types on your computer. Any document I open up on my computer by double clicking in File Explorer will open up in the Word program, the Word app, because that is my default app for documents. Now, if you have, you're big into photos and pictures, and maybe you have or purchased Adobe Photo Acrobat as an app. When you install an app like Adobe as an example, Adobe Photos, it will ask you, do you want to make this app your default program, your default app for opening pictures? And if you say yes, it will become your default app for photos. Then when you double click a photo, it won't open the photo in Windows Photo Viewer. It will open up your photo in the Adobe Photoshop because you've assigned that app as your default for photos. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is you can open any file in File Explorer, but it's going to open with the file app program that is the default. So you can play with this when after class, you can open up some files, like here's the Jeopardy template file. It's a PowerPoint file. How do I know it's a PowerPoint? Because it says PPT right here. So if I try to open it, bloop, bloop, it opens PowerPoint. And then it opens the file. So your computer recognizes the file extension. And the file extension is part of the file name that identifies what app was used to create the file. So if I send this file to somebody and it's a PowerPoint file, and I send it to them, and they double click it to try to open it, they don't call me up and say, Jim, I can't open the file. I said, well, do you have PowerPoint? Well, no, I don't have power. Well, then you can't open a PowerPoint file, can you? Unless you have an app that can open it that isn't PowerPoint. There may be some, I don't know. Okay. Let's do a quick review. So start all the way over again. Okay, I open up File Explorer, and it opens up into a window that may or may not look similar to this. You may have a different edition of File Explorer. It all works the same way, but it may look a little different at the beginning. And if I go to Documents and click on Documents, Folder, I see the contents over here. Now, if I go to a file or folder and I right-click on it, I get a menu of what I can do with that folder or file. And the main things you can do with it is you can copy, rename, or delete it. And we'll get into that in the future. Okay. If I see an arrow next to a folder over here, that means it contains more folders, and I can click it to get the folders listed in the folder pane. You will never see files over here, only folders. Whatever folder you click on, the contents of that folder appears over here. If you right-click on a folder, you can come down to Properties. Now, this is kind of interesting. Any file or any folder, you can right-click to get this menu. All right. One of the items on this menu, we won't cover all of them, but one of them is Properties. And if I click on Properties, I get all kinds of information about this folder. I can see the location of the folder. And I can see if I'm sharing that folder with anybody else. Security, previous versions. Anyway, I don't use any of this stuff, but it is handy to look at the contents in this way by right-clicking to get the menu. Let me do that again. You right-click a folder to get a menu, and you left-click on Properties. And now you can see how big that folder is, how much space it's taking up. And this one says 31 megabytes, about is the size of it. Because the folder itself doesn't take up any space at all. It's the files in the folder that take up the space. So I don't get a space size with a folder because the folder isn't taking up space, but I get a space size here for the files. Are there any questions? When you save your files that you create using whatever app you use to create files, you want to put them in the correct places. Okay. You can use the Documents folder for a lot of things. You can put any file into any folder. You can put photos in your documents. You can put documents in your pictures, but I don't recommend it The main folders that are provided for you on Windows are documents, music, pictures, videos, and network. And you may have seen, if I go up here, there's a desktop folder because your desktop with all the icons on it is a folder. If I click on it, here's the contents of my desktop. The same desktop that is here is now listed here for me to manipulate. I can go to the view and change the view. Maybe smaller icons would be better. If you change the view in a folder and you leave that folder and you come back to that folder, it will remember the view you used. So if I change this view to small icons, and I go to a different folder, and I come back to the desktop folder, it will remember the view that I changed it to. There's got to be some questions. Am I that good, or are you all asleep?
You're very good.
Good. I'm glad it's working for you. Now, if you click on a folder, and let's say I go to open a folder, class teaching folder. Okay? If I go to a folder and I right-click to get that magic menu, you can right-click on anything and get a menu. If I right-click on a folder, I get the menu for the folder. Show more options. And I was looking for a pin. No. Oh, because am I in my pinned area already? No, I'm not. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. Let me try that again. If I can right click on Windows 10, yep, there's the menu. I can get pin to start or pin to quick access. And if I select one of those, it will put that folder or file up here in the beginning part of my folder list. I always have the main folders pinned here and the desktop. And these that are not pinned, I think are the most recent files that I used or the more popular files that I've used. Okay, let's go back to this view again. I'm going to go to documents. Let's see, class teaching folder. Can we do that one? Yeah, we'll do that one. This folder, the class teaching folder, doesn't have a lot in it. It only has 3 folders in it and 1, 2, 3, 6 files. But I want to show you that we're in the view, detail list view. And because we're in the detailed list view, we get column headings, the name column, the date modified column, the type column, and the size column. Notice that the type column has a little arrow in top of it. That's because this list is sorted by the type of file it is. So all my Word documents are together. Now, if I click the name column heading, click, the little arrow is now in the name column, and the name column is sorted alphabetically because I'm sorting it by the name. The folders come first, A to Z, and then the files underneath the folders from A to Z, and the numbers come before the letter A. If I click the name file heading, the column heading again, the arrow is now pointing down. And now they're sorted from Z to A, not from A to Z. Same thing with date modified. If I click on the date modified column heading, I see the arrowhead is at the top and is sorted, I believe, from newest to oldest. Yep, newest to oldest. If I click it again, bloop, it reverses the sort, and now it's sorted from oldest to newest. And of course, I can sort by type, and I can sort by size. Size comes in handy if for some reason you want to save space, you want to delete files that you don't want. Why not delete the files you don't want that take up the most space? So free up. Look at these files, you can see the bigger ones come first. Now, I showed you this on a short list, but it works for a long list too. In documents, they're sorted by name, folders first, and then files. Click again, it's reverse sort. The folders still come on top. I think in an older version of File Explorer, when you do a reverse sort, the folders come at the bottom instead of the top, but they'll be together from Z to A, and then the files from Z to A. So that's why I like View, click on that again, View Detailed List, because you get the columns. It's so nice and so handy to find things. Oh, let's see. Let's search for a file just to see how that works. I'm in Documents. So now the search is restricted to the Documents folder. And I can start putting some search elements in here, characters, like J, I. Okay, now notice what it did is it highlighted the characters JI in the results of my search. I am an author. The letters JI don't appear in the name of the file at all. But it found JI in the author, so it's listed it. Here it found JI in the letters of the folder name. So it lists it. So the more letters you put in, the more choices you have. Okay, so I put in CO. And here I get moving considerations, confusion, config, content. So it really is a terrific search. And it almost finds too much. But remember, you're only searching the documents folder. Gives you quite a list. Okay, so the search is very, very powerful. Now, if I went, I'm going to delete the CO. Suppose I clicked on the whole C drive. Come down here to the C drive. Well, here it is, local disk C. Now I'm going to search the whole C disk. Wow, that's going to be interesting. Let's do STR. And it's going to take some time because it's searching the whole C drive. So it's going to take time. You're going to get a long list, but it'll search your whole C drive. You have no business going in different parts of the C drive. No business at all. Unless you have a degree in computer science. Right? But remember where you're searching. You click on the folder and then you can search for the contents in that folder. Pictures. You can search. Okay. So here I put in the digits 3-1 and I can see it's part of a long name of these files here. Why these others appear, I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the date. So if I right click on something, well, anyway, there must be a reason why 31 made these things appear. So I don't use search very much because I know where my stuff is. Are there any questions? Let's see what else we have to cover today. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover today. We have about 7 more minutes. I'll show you, if there are no questions, I'll show you how to move a file from one place to another. But are there any questions?
Yes, Jim,
Yeah.
Jim McIntyre. I've noticed that on the left-hand side there on mine, about second or third item down is called gallery. And it seems to list all the pictures that I have on the computer there, but they're not put into files or folders. It's just all a list of them. What's the purpose of that gallery?
Yeah, I'm making a guess. Let's look it up on Google, ask Google after the class, but I'm guessing that gallery is going to find all your photographs. That is, all the file names that end with a file identifier that identifies that file as a photograph. There are many different kinds of photograph files. If I click on gallery, I get my whole list here by year. I don't know if this is accessing. I have all my photos on Google Photos. I'm not sure if it's accessing Google Photos or not. It looks like it is. But mine seem to be sorted by year, and I can try to find, or I can search the gallery for a name. You can do a lot with photos. If you put them in something like Google Photos, it can do a face recognition. You can put in the name of a person and it will find all the photos that have that person's face in it. I have not done that, but I'm telling you that there's a lot you can do with different photo apps. I happen to use Google Photos, get all my photos in Google Photos and they're off my computer. I have some on here, obviously. But they go in Google Photos, and then Google Photos has all kinds of tools to do things. So that's my guess, James, is that the gallery finds photos in your computer and maybe is searching Google Photos for me too. I don't know.
Yes, it
But
is.
we can find that out with asking Google afterwards. Drew, do you have a comment on that?
Yes. Gallery in File Explorer is a way to give you quick access to images that are stored locally or synced via OneDrive directly within File Explorer. The location is called Gallery, and its basic functionality is to display images from pictures and folders from indexed locations. So File Explorer is capable of indexing your files, and the gallery view shows not only the pictures that are in one specific folder, but everything that Windows was able to find. So you were correct in what you were saying, that it'll sort through them and gives you access to them by date, regardless of what folder they happen to be residing in.
Yes, and I believe you mentioned, Drew, the Microsoft OneDrive, which I don't use. I use Google Photos, and it appears that this is access to my Google Photos.
I don't think it has access to Google Photos.
Well, if I go to a photo, it tells me in the box where it's located on my computer, that it's in photo folder. So let's see if I go far enough down. Yes, it appears that even these are still on my computer.
So Drew,
Yes.
you said something about indexing. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Earlier in the lesson, Jim talked about going into the search box in the upper right-hand corner.
Right.
If you are searching in there, it's capable of Windows by itself, the operating system will index all of the files and folders that are on your computer and in your OneDrive. And so you can, in one search box, locate files that may exist in a variety of different places.
I think what she is asking is, what do you mean by the term index?
Oh, indexing is basically a way that Windows maintains a static database, sort of all of your files. And so that when you go into the search box, it can locate and give you the results more quickly than it would if it were searching everything at that moment.
Okay, remember last couple of lessons, we talked about the search box down here on the taskbar. That will search everything, including your computer and the internet, will give you results. And I'm going to look up indexing and learn more about it, Drew. Thank you for bringing that up. And it is 11 o'clock and we need to close. So I'm going to close my window here. And thank you all for coming. And I hope we get more people next time. Hope you have good notes. Have a great week. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
You're welcome.